There we go. Getting some people trickling in. Okay.
There we go.
Are we going to play where
Now
we're from?
cooking.
Let's do it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right. Got to call out on people. Where are you from?
Yep.
It's Orlando here. Welcome to Florida, where it's 115.
Kansas City, Missouri, where it might as well just be 115 degrees and humid.
Oh, wow. Well, it's a cold day over here in Texas. We're 90.
Steven's still in Ireland. I thought you'd moved by now. It's been a week.
It's got to be.
That's where my son and his fiance want to go to get married. They want to take do their wedding and honeymoon in Ireland.
That's not a bad spot.
Right? Well, they're
Yeah.
They're super nerds, so they like all the Renaissance stuff.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I hope his mother isn't joining this meeting.
Well, it's got to be happy hour there, right? Considering the time zone.
What, isn't it always happy hour in Ireland?
That's fair. Very fair.
It's always 5 o'clock somewhere. That's the saying. Awesome. Looks like we got a couple of people still trickling in here. Just good. We'll maybe another 30, 45 seconds.
Good company makes any hour happy hour, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
My dog's good company, so it's always happy hour.
What kind of dog you have?
I have Dachshunds.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
They're cute as can be.
I'm surprised he's not in my lap. He's probably upstairs in bed. He's very lazy. The girl's over here. She's sleepy too.
The life of a pup, I tell you, sometimes.
Well, pup, he's like 10.
What? Yeah. Well, yeah. All right. Cool. Well, what do you guys say we get this thing started? We'll kick things off here. Now, folks are still trickling in, but at least we can kind of get through some of the intros here and kind of share with everybody what we're doing today. But for those who are in here, welcome. Appreciate you guys spending the time to kind of go through what we have planned for you today. You're in the right session. We're going to be talking about MSP bots and BrightGauge beyond dashboards and why MSPs are leaving BrightGauge with no regrets, with zero regrets. And my name is Moses Castillo. I am the CRO here at MSP Bots. I've been with MSP Bots going on 2 years, and I have some experience, working with MSPs. I think I started back in 2015, back at ConnectWise. So I used to work there for quite some time. And and now we're here, like I mentioned earlier, in South Texas, where it's a cool 91. So not too shabby. Yeah. Joe, why don't you introduce yourself too?
I'm Joe Terso. I'm the CEO of the High Point Group, and I've been in MSP operations for well over 25 years. Deep knowledge in ConnectWise, True Methods, Power BI, and a lot of reporting frameworks, and BrightGauge. I started off with BrightGauge, and it was great for what it was, but it always stopped short for me of what I needed for a highly efficient MSP. And when I talk about highly efficient, my baseline net profit for MSPs are 20% is my zero, 25% is my average, and 30% is always my target. So I, as an MSP operator, and I've driven some large MSPs, you need data that does stuff, right? Not just sit there.
All right. Thanks. That's a really tough act to follow, Joe. So I will try to do my best. But hey, everyone, my name is Byron Peoples. I am a senior regional sales manager here at MSP Bots. I joined the team back in January of this year, so a little over 7 months now, but much of my MSP experience comes by way of ConnectWise. Moses, I don't think we got the opportunity to meet while I was at ConnectWise. Our paths briefly crossed, but Yeah, I worked very closely in the business management suite. So a lot of your business management solutions like ConnectWise PSA, BrightGauge, IT Boost, et cetera. And I love business intelligence, which is why I'm here, but I always felt like there's a much greater story to tell when it comes to your data and how actionable you can be on it. And so I hear a lot about where MSPs are looking to drive better insights, but also be more efficient across the help desk and across all aspects of the business. So excited to share a little bit more about that today, and I'll go ahead and kick it back over to Moses to share more.
Yeah, I would not be surprised if anybody on this call doesn't recognize you as worked with you, Byron, from their days at ConnectWise. But if you have, give a quick hello to Byron. We are going to be talking about different client experiences. So for those of you who are with us in a previous webinar, we're actually doing a webinar series on the 7 drivers of scalable service delivery. And we're actually be overlapping some of those topics here today as well with, how to operationalize a lot of this information. So we'll be spending some time also in a future webinar talking about our MSP Masterclass series, which hits on each one of these topics. So if you missed the first one, it is uploaded. Take a look at it on our YouTube. Also, we'll have one later on in a few weeks, but we are going to be tying in, a lot of these drivers of service delivery. And the first one that we're going to be talking about is going to be around, that's actually going to tie in directly to our KPI problem here, which is the team health and internal communication service driver. So Joe, I'll let you take this one.
Right. And when you're in an MSP, there's 2 things with data. You're either going to sink or you're going to swim. A lot of people just have data all over the place. They have data overload. So their challenge is they're looking at all these data points, but they're still chasing time entries, SLA breaches, profitability blind spots. And what you get with this just dashboard runaway, because everyone wants something and nobody's creating standards or actually putting in a holistic view on it, is you get visibility, but not velocity. Right? You're getting information, but not automation. You're having data that you have to go see, right? Unless you have it on a monitor in your office and you are all in the office with the sound up and it plays a ding, which, this is not 2008. Data, whenever you have data, you do something with that data. And that process of, hey, I see this, I need to go look at that, is the next evolution of dashboards or widgets. It's, I know the data and I have to do the same thing every time to go find out what that data means. What lever do I need to pull to get it right? So the problem with static dashboards, right, is that you have to go to it and make decisions. With dynamic automation is as thresholds are nearing, right? As thresholds are repeating, as sentiment changes, right? You want it to do something, send a Teams message, escalate, create an email, create a ticket, run a script, right? Do all the things, because all the things are possible. So KPIs, right, are just levers to pull, and you have to make a decision. And with MSP bots, you do that. With BrightGauge, you just see that.
Yeah, Joe, I think your point there is the lever to pull is really valid because more often than not, where folks are coming to MSP bots for a demonstration and they're coming to us with challenges, they're telling me, hey, Byron, these are metrics that are or KPIs that are important to me, but I'm reviewing them in a weekly staff meeting, or I'm reviewing them in my weekly one-on-ones. And so in that point, it becomes a report, whereas you truly want your data to be actionable. And that's where MSP bots comes into play, because it's a true platform rather than a reporting mechanism. And this view here isn't meant to trash BrightGauge or disparage it by any means. It's just more important to point out its limitations and where we can add value to your solution set. So as you can see, there's the dashboards, there are reports, and then as you start to look down the list a little further, when it comes to automation bots, the ability to drive actionable alerts, whereas the equivalent to BrightGauge, I believe it would be a gauge that you could send to yourself and it would give you a number, whereas it doesn't give you any real actionable data. The coaching nudges, really important because some people might see it as a micromanaging. If anything, it's an opportunity to coach and drive process improvements on standards that you're trying to improve in the business that may require you to reach out to somebody. So that bot acts as an extension of yourself. As you go into more so down the chart, the ConnectWise integration, extensive as can be, with a little over 800 pre-built metrics across the board, including agreement profitability, utilization, basically any sort of metric that you would want to track. It comes in a pre-built app, dashboard, or report. And then just to drive it a little bit further, your SLA enforcement bots. How do you want to stay on top of your SLAs instead of having to go to a dashboard and see that you're in jeopardy of breaching response? Or perhaps time entry bots, Joe, I think that whenever we first met, you told me that was the biggest pain that you had as an MSP owner, was reaching out to folks for time entries, and that no longer became an issue for you. Is that right?
Yes, and we actually going to get into time entry bots as a use case, but the things that make me double up on my lisinopril to keep my blood pressure down is when people do not put in real time entries, because doing that documentation is part of delivering the service, and it is so important, not just for accurate billing, but so the client's aware, so the accounting department is aware, so the service managers, people can go read the ticket and get the information as opposed to hunting something down. So that bot saves not just profitability and making it accurate, it saves a lot of admin time on your most expensive resources, which is generally leadership.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And so you mentioned it there. There's a tie into some of the service delivery drivers that we've been talking about in our masterclass series, specifically around agreement, health, and profitability. Where else do you see where this has kind of enabled that driver, Joe?
The process enforcement, right? These best practice bots that we have, it helps with not just profitability, but efficiency and performance, right? These things that we look at with the nudging or the hey, this wasn't done right, bots that a manager or lead or somebody would have to go look and then go do it. Hey, this isn't right. Now you have a bot. This isn't right, right? Our time entry formats, our configurations, our type, subtype, and add, they're all standardized, wrapped around ITIL, right? It's the best way to deliver service. That's why it's called a standard. These bots help enforce that to ensure consistency and predictability, which also, I'll just keep using those adjectives, but at least profitability.
Sorry, Byron, you're going to say something. I'll let you.
Yeah, it was just if you go back real quick, Moses, sorry, and this is a perfect example of my ADHD not finishing my thought, but it was just in terms of the cost, in a competitive landscape, it's really not apples to apples, it's more apples to bananas. I'm a big fan of bananas, but however, you can't really compare the cost and the price point, because when you look at the BrightGauge Enterprise or Enterprise Plus plans, those are giving your dashboards and reports. Whereas if you look at a lot of our plan types, they do allow for more process automation with the bots and even on the next ticket side, inclusive of your business intelligence.
And adding to that, and no, I think we'll get to it later. I'm a mental note to self, circle back. Got it.
All right. Let's jump into some of the use case here that we were gonna mention regarding cherry picking and what seems to be a redacted name here. What can you tell us about this? I think Joe, you were going to take this, or Byron, you're getting started with this one.
Yeah, this one really stuck out to me as recently a COO. They highlighted where tech for cherry picking. They were creating a backlog of tickets. There was no way to really to drive improvements on the help desk because they were going to their boards, or there was kind of like a free for all, if you will, to determine which tickets they wanted to work, those password resets. Whereas maybe the tickets that required a little more technical expertise, they were dodging. And with Next Ticket, that allowed them to not only be more efficient, but it allowed them to, extend their resource availability, which ultimately improved their billable and non-billable hours, right? So they had a 50% backlog reduction, and they found that they were driving better experience for their clients and their internal processes. So I think, Joe, you probably had I know that you had some pretty good examples too of how you've helped with cherry picking on the Next Ticket, right?
Right. When I implement Next Ticket, and again, I don't know if I said this, but we also MSP consulting. When we implement Next Ticket for clients, we immediately see a decrease in escalations, right? Instead of people cherry picking and then kicking the can down the road, the escalations drop. So level 3 people are working on level 3 stuff, which is 10% or less of any of those tickets. And it helped them move up the operational maturity level box. We had it to where I think it's 10,000 or so endpoints and no service coordinator once we got Next Ticket in. No dispatch, no service coordinator.
Yeah, that's a tremendous efficiency gain for any MSP.
Because we had two.
That alone, yeah, 2 to 0. That's wild.
2 to 0. Well, we moved them over into projects in other areas of the company, but it's service costs down, which means service profit margins up.
What's another use case here that we have, Joe, that you've seen as you've been implementing MSP bots as well?
I see you didn't redact my name, which is awesome. This is, again, I know I just ranted on it, but I'm going to do it again. People who, and I'll never understand it, people who just say, okay, I'm going to write my time down, I'm going to do it later. You're doing more work by saying, I'll do it tonight after work, or I'll do it tomorrow. You're taking time that doesn't need to be given to time entries by not doing time in real time, right? Your time's not going to be accurate, or if you're writing it down to make it accurate, then why are you doing time twice? You need to make sure it's formatted correctly. One of the things I'm a big stickler on is between the body of the message and the signature is what's next, right? Does the ticket entry tell a story and tell you what's going to happen next? Whether you're closing the ticket, you're scheduled to do something, whatever. So it meets a format that is consistent. And the bots will detect it if it's too short for the time, if it's late, or if it's missing. It kicks them a little nudge. Hey, do your stuff. And then even when you log out, hey, you missed this stuff. And it really drives down that number more into compliance, because that 20% that are missing, then they have to hear from me. That number then drops too. But the bots reduce my admin time, which creates more operational efficiency and better tech performance, right?
Yep. That
also says internal communication, team health goes up because I'm not chasing someone down. They don't feel like they're being micromanaged. The accounting department can go look at it, know what's going on. The client's accounting department can. People who look at the time entries generally aren't the ones that had the service given to them. People with questions, right? Your point of contact, or again, finance, accounting, managers, account managers, VCIOs. They're not the ones that were involved in the entire story. They need to see what happened right there. So doing it in real time gives you the best chance of getting it right. I'm sorry, I keep
100%.
looking over here. That's where you guys are.
Yeah, I'll say probably one of the number one things that I hear from our clients in using these is such a powerful, exactly what you said for that operational efficiency has probably been the biggest game changer for them to be able to see that efficiency improve and really understand what business decisions to make next. So it's a highly reviewed, highly talked about use case for us in MSP bots. So Byron, I'll have you shoot let's talk about some real-time profitability. Our time entry is obviously connected to profitability. So talk to us about some clients that you've spoken to around this.
This piece is probably, I would say, it's in the top 3 reasons why MSPs end up making the leap to MSP bots, and that's real-time profitability. This slide that we're looking at here, they signed up about 60 days ago, and alone they uncovered, so it was about $12,000 a month. So there was a little bit of a typo there. That would be impressive if they uncovered $122,000 a month. But yeah, nonetheless, still $12,000 a month in over servicing losses, where that information is hard to detect on the BrightGauge dashboard because it doesn't allow for and/or logic or the advanced calculations that you need to track agreement profitability. So that's really important to know. If you try to build those dashboards in BrightGauge, they typically require extensive layers, and those layers tend to break. And that leads to support time, which ultimately leads to inefficiencies and your agreement profitability data. And it's important to know that for ConnectWise PSA users and even Autotask users, that is a pre-built app that you have available to you from the time you sign up. So from day one, that data is visible to you without the extensive business intelligence work that's needed to go into it. So
yeah,
Joe, I don't know if you had anything else that you wanted to share.
Absolutely. And from a service standpoint, a lot of this over servicing comes from not detecting patterns, right? Not detecting repetitive issues, not detecting recurring issues, not detecting client sentiment says, like WTF, this is happening again, this is still happening. And by not looking at a multitude of things, right? That entire diamond of IT, I always say IT is like a diamond. It's just not one metric that tells you what it is. It's multiple that tells you what it is. And with MSP bots, you're able to correlate all these different things into over servicing. Hey, we're getting a lot of this. We're getting a lot of this. This thing's feeling a lot, and easy presentable information that you can correlate. So there's easy actionable data when you're looking at all the pieces at one time. Normally, I give my team leads or managers one grid that has all manageable data side by side. Client-facing utilization from their team, labor load or gross margins, their COGS, how many tickets per endpoint they're getting, right? What's their agreement value? How many average out, right? All on one pane of glass. And then on the dashboard are the other repeatable factors. Now I see client dropping in trends. I can easily pinpoint what's happening. And you're right, we're going to get into this and ease the setup down later, but I'm going to drop some big wows. And again, This is also an interactive. Y'all want to ask questions during it, pop them into the chat. We are monitoring that, and we love to hear real questions or challenges.
Yeah. I just before we move off this one, last point we'll move on. But this is probably one of the common conversations that I have with MSPs around agreement profitability. How many people are tracking it? And it's split. There's a lot of folks who say, I know I should be tracking it. I just can't really get there. Maybe it's not something that I have easy access to. It's difficult to, or I'm paying for another platform to do that. And so there's a consolidation conversation as well that happens, and consolidating your business intelligence platforms to easy pre-built access to that, and then B, potential consolidation as well. But if you're not tracking the agreement profitability and the health, this is a really easy way to do that, set up out of the box for you guys. And it's coming soon for Halo as well. So if you're a Halo user, this will be in Halo here pretty soon as well. All right. So, this is
Joel's asking for a demo.
What's that?
So there is a registration for a demo at the end. If we have time, can we jump into the dummy data?
Okay.
If there's time, yeah, because I can pull it up and share.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Speaking of me talking beyond belief, let's talk about some nudges. So again, the difference between data and decisions is leading indicators. Breaching SLA is a lagging indicator because it's already done. But leading indicators that you're going to breach SLAs prevents problems, right? And with your SLA bots, right? There's a massive reduction in missing SLAs because it nudges the techs, right? What's critical? You need to take care of this one next because we're 7 minutes away from being bad, right? Let's reach out to the client. Let's do this. Let's do that. We improve not just our SLA metrics, but our proactive support and prevention of issues, right? SLA alerts help us to meet our commitments, right? I know a lot of people say under promise, over deliver, and I'm all about deliver the service that they're paying for. Just make sure that that's an exceptional value, right? Set the bar and then meet it. And that's what SLA bots help you do. And how do we feel about that?
Yeah, this year, and not to bring in new use cases, but this is something that we use organization wide for technicians, in sales, for opportunities, conversations, things that are not marked accurately, things that we've forgotten about. Our CSM team for reaching out to clients, proactively alerting us of things that we may have forgotten or may have not seen, or just helpful information. All of this stuff, all of these technician nudges, it could be a CSM nudge, it could be a sales nudge, it could be a finance nudge, right? Whatever needs to be brought to your attention. If we can measure it, then we can nudge you about it. We can show you about it and what it's the impact of it. If you're measuring it, it's worth taking some action on, and that's where this reduces, overdue rates, things that we've let slip through. So this is a use case across the organization as well that I think is super important to point out as possibilities.
Moses, what would say since I onboarded, what have been my escalation bots for you for my missed activities? Would you say that they've improved, or have they stayed the same?
They have absolutely improved, but I can tell you what they were, So I don't know.
I feel like Byron was pushing for a compliment.
A little bit. I knew the answer I wanted, but that wasn't quite that wasn't quite the one I got.
I'm excited for this next one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. It's all you, Byron.
Oh yeah. I love this story because when I get to demo this product and then also welcome new MSP bots users on board, there's use cases all across the board that are pretty similar, but sometimes there are outliers in terms of how much time or how much money that they're going to be saving by automating certain aspects of their business. And this is one of those. The CEO was spending about 6 hours per QBR per client, and they were a really mature MSP, but unfortunately they were having to manually reconcile integrations like Huntress with their BrightGauge tenant, and they didn't have access. So some of the workarounds that they had to do there were either copying and pasting PDF documents into a Word doc or a PowerPoint. With those integrations, you have the ability to standardize a template. That way, once you have your standardized template and you know that there's 80% of your clients are using a similar set of solutions, that then becomes a way for you to no longer manually create those reports. You can have your company branding, your company colors, and automate them. And depending upon your standing operating procedures for that QBR or TBR meeting, you can hold those and send those reports after the QBR meeting has taken place. That's a souvenir for them to take home. But yeah, that's the ability to automate that process, which doesn't have to be manual, is a huge time saving. And think about it. Joe's a CEO of his business, and we have some CEOs and managers on this call. Think of your salary and the amount of time that you're dedicating to reports and what that translates to hourly, monthly, which could then ultimately lead to you doing other revenue generating activities rather than creating pretty reports. That's Moses, I think is Go taking the next one on the CSAT scores, or
let's go back because
okay.
No, not there. There we go. So,
Okay.
and this is kind of off what we were talking about. And I'm not sure that you want me to talk about it, but I'm gonna do it anyway. I've made a QBR template, and because we have a universal AI gateway, I pump my audit data, and I pump all my other data through my AI back to MSP bots. So when the QBRs and I click a report for just the company name and the time frame, it'll give, hey, here's where you are from your proactive audit. Here's what's critical, and here's what it means to you. Right? It puts it in language non-technical people can read. Here's how far you've come. Here's your open opportunities. Right? Here's the projects and when they're going to kick off. It's all meaningful data, and it's always client facing. Right? The business review is always client facing. So if they ever want to know what's coming up, there it is. They ever want to know how have we helped them, or how, and I'll say my clients, help them improve their technology stance. It's all there in easy language. At the same time, it generates that same view internally for the account manager and the VCIO. Right? And that's all natural language, and it happens automatically. And I'm pulling data from all these different data points with MSP bots being the data gateway, right? It's the source of truth. So and I say this simply because there is so much more you can do with MSP bots that maybe even MSP bots doesn't know. I love to leverage it to its most. The dogs are.
I absolutely encourage people to meet with Joe about what he's
Mhm.
doing with some of the things with MSP bots, kind of pioneering some of the newer use cases as well that I think will eventually be things that are staples for any business to run. So definitely spend some time afterwards, and we'll have a way for you to book some time with him at the end here too.
All right, let's get into CSAT.
Where we're at. Okay, here we go. Is this?
Nope, that's license.
Last one I hit.
There we go. Customer
analytics. There we go.
All right, and here's where I had the first tear roll down my eye working with MSP bots. Is when we were able to embed CSAT into conversation. So as emails were going back and forth, it would rate it as positive, negative, or neutral. Right? Is there a positive experience? Is there a negative experience? Or there's a neutral experience? So if there was a singular negative, it would just let the team know, hey, this was negative. You find out what's going on. If there were 3 negatives in one ticket, it would let the service manager know. If there were 3 negatives in any ticket over a period of 1 week, it would let the account manager know. Right? So from this, we were constantly getting ahead of client issues. And then it would write that end sentiment back into the ticket. So now not only am I reporting on CSAT, I'm reporting on client sentiment, and I'm getting a more holistic picture of what that client experience is and the tech experience, because I'm looking at that information too. I want that team health and that client experience to be the same. I really hate the SLA trend. more about XLA, right? The experience level agreement, where I take, and again, this is part of our masterclass series, but you have to take SLA, which are hard and fast, and then take sentiment. How do I feel doing business with you? And how do I feel working for you? And is it profitable? And merge that together into a singular viewpoint. And this was one of them, as well as voice analytics. I don't know how many people know that BVoIP and stuff is integrated with it. And you drop your call process in there, it runs it through there. Did your call adhere to the process? And what was the quality? And let me attach it to the ticket. I mean, come on. If that ain't holistic, I don't know what is.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I think we can, I've had conversations with several MSPs to say, we have trouble getting people to fill out the surveys, our CSAT surveys. And what percentage of folks actually spend the time to do that? Now you get that entire client journey, like you're saying, the experience of a client, whether they intended to leave us a review or not, or leave us a survey or not, we can capture that and be able to, put a bot on it to say, hey, there's something here to pay attention to. We use that internally as well. And there's more use cases like that happening as AI rapidly develops. So this is an amazing tool to increase proactive retention for a lot of MSPs. So
once
pumped about that.
I've every time I've implemented client sentiment, CSAT rate of return, how many times a client fills out a survey versus how many opportunities, has gone up on average 15%. And the NPS score has gone up 20%. They are more engaged when you are more attuned to what their experience is.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Byron, did you have a comment on this, or?
I was also going to say too, I think the value point there too is how do we, if we're seeing a negative sentiment trend across multiple clients, is it also possible that maybe there's a common denominator, if I could say that today, oh my goodness, as a resource for that negative sentiment? Is there somebody that's contributing to that across multiple clients? So that's another value add that you get there.
That's a real-time stat that you get from the built-in apps, right? Because that's one of the things I was going to build, and I'm like, oh, look, it's already here. Somebody thought of that. Y'all are smart.
There's an app for that.
There's an app for that.
This, funny enough, this was one of those aha moments for me, and I love it because there's at least one of those a week in terms of what we can do with the bots. And I actually thought that this was going to be an AI agent use case for maybe later this year, but our professional services shared that this was a bot that we could be built for a new client, and they were trying to better understand license and billing reconciliation. They were losing about $1,800 a month in unused licenses, and through our professional services team, we were able to trigger a real-time bot that would take their ConnectWise PSA data as well as their Ninja One RMM data and trigger an alert when there was any sort of changes when it comes to contract versus actual devices. So I'd anticipated that would be an AI agent use case, but in fact, that's something that's available today within the bots, giving that real-time visibility rather than having to see that information on a more reactive scale, like whenever a report's generated weekly or monthly. So again, more proactive, real time, rather than waiting on the reactive side.
Yeah, no, there is a pre-built report already. I think we did with Autotask and Ninja that we use for Basis. We can do it for ConnectWise or others. That right there is, typically a manual process. I got to go inspect these licenses, go ahead and update things. And depending on the number of clients you have, you may or may not have time to do that. Saves you time, it helps you find some of the opportunities that you might be slipping by, like that revenue there that they can put back into their operations. So That's a huge use case for that kind of reporting.
Going back to the previous one, I had created a dashboard that listed the client and then the license type, how many were used, how many were unused. And again, that's on the real-time dashboard so they can see, and then we can get alerts if there's a license purchase within 7 days with a license available, and we can automatically return the license. Cool stuff. All right, scorecards. So people need to know what they're being held accountable for. They need to know if they're successful. And by giving them access, that's it. Giving them access to their data, right? And letting them know, hey, you're not hitting it, and it's transparency, right? There's transparency. You can help them coach faster, and they will escalate, hey, I don't know what I'm doing wrong here. I can't hit this. This is impossible, but their peers are hitting it. So as a manager or a leader, you help make them successful by saying, okay, let's go through and see where you're falling short. This, again, fact-based. This is not an opinion. This is, you should have this much client. You should have 80% client-facing utilization. Look at your bar, and this is what it is. This is what your realization should be. This is what your actual should be. This is what your CSAT should be, right? This is your error rate. And when they see that all in one dashboard, and you see it too, there's transparency and success. That will drive coaching. That will drive efficiency. That will drive individual health because they're not stressed on why they're not making it. It improves your performance overall. And that then reduces your handling time. Little things like I should be billing at 6.25 hours or 6.4 hours a day, and I'm not. If I start doing my time entries in real time, I will have more time to handle more tickets because I'm not having to go back and do double work. I'm not blocking out time to do things. So there's small gains that add up. And scorecards are what are used to help you coach. Right? And coaching plans should also be transparent. Hey, we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about it 3 times. The 4th time, we're going to put a PIP in place. The 6th time, you have an exit strategy. Right? But it's clear. It's transparent. You have access to data. We're coaching you. We're doing the right things. Right? And you want them to be successful. And they can see if they're being successful or not. Transparency across the board.
Yeah, that's one of the biggest things from a team perspective is everybody wants clarity. Everyone wants to know how where they stand. Everybody wants to know, what they need to improve on. And by putting this constantly available for them, there's never a question. We'll always see what they need to improve on and really give you access to get that coaching, that personalized coaching, which, it enables you in those one-on-one conversations.
So I know we're going a little long on time for where we want to be. So I kind of want to combine the next two with a simple story. I just did an MSP bot implementation for a client. They gave me access at around 5:30, 6 o'clock. I was like, let me just set it up real quick. It took me 20 minutes. And the next morning when we met, I went straight to the apps. Let's talk about your agreement profitability. Let's talk about your team utilization. And it's all there. I didn't build any dashboards. I didn't build any gauges. I didn't build any widgets. I just went, all right, let's look. Okay, let's look at where you're losing money. Let's look at where you're making money. This is where this should be. Let's look at the realization rate. Here's the techs that are billing correctly. Here's the techs with a lot of admin time. They had massive amounts of actionable data, and it took me just a few minutes to get it set up. I did 2 integrations. All I needed was ConnectWise and QuickBooks. Right? And then I did IT glue. I did all the rest of the stuff, but initially, let me just integrate it. And I didn't have to build reports. I didn't have to sit here and try and figure stuff out or clone or build or do whatever. That client was so happy with their investment that I didn't even have to make the custom dashboards. I'm still doing it because there's certain things I want for certain people. I want the individual techs to have success dashboards based on different metrics, but the actual data for the owner was there. Now, if that don't tie in all 7 drivers, I don't know what does.
Yeah. such a powerful time to value is what that is. Being able to immediately turn it around and say, hey, I have something valuable here. I don't, even if I want to build customizations, I can spend time doing that, but I am going to walk away with something actionable, beneficial, helpful, so I can get my ROI. And that's one of the key things that we try to do with those all that pre-built asset that Joe that you're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, the client's like, I don't want to buy this and we not have time to implement it. I don't want to buy this. And then 4 weeks later, I'm paying for it and I don't have what I need. I'm like, okay, here's 24 hours. Let's go. How's that?
Good
How's
deal.
that for
All
action?
right. So as we wrap, we do want to make some time for some questions. And just to recap, you want to spend some time with Joe, kind of going through some of his best practices and working with him. Please take a moment to scan his QR code. If you want to take a look at some of the things we talked about, like the agreement profitability in action, or maybe just compare more specifically things like filtering and or statements. Why is it something? What can we do in comparison to BrightGauge? Can we bring everything over? That sort of thing. Please book some time with us for a demo. We'll help you out. And then you can also register for the continuing sessions that we have on our masterclass series, which we'll be having in a couple of weeks to continue to dive into all the best practices on service delivery, which Joe will continue to walk us through. But fellas, on the chat, I don't have access to it here in my sharing screen, but why don't we go through some of the questions, see if we can get to a few of them here before we wrap.
Do you want me to do a quick demo?
Sure. Yeah. If there's no pressing questions, we can do a quick demo on some of the dashboards. Yeah.
Right. Here, what I really want to leverage, and if you guys can see my screen, is I log in. This is my dashboard. I simply go to apps and I pick what I want to see. And this is what I was talking about with my client. I went to his profitability, and as you can see, it opens up in tabs. And I just go to, let me look at my profitability overview. There's my list of agreements. I can check by time, by different agreements, by different companies, company types, whatever I want to filter by. And it tells me, this is how many agreements you have. This is how much was billed. This was the COGS, right? How much did it cost to support that? And that was my profit. This is my margin. Break it down. Labor, effective rate, contribution rate. Here you have your trends, right? You should be at, say, for agreement profitability trend, you want to be at 60% to 70%. For effective rate trend, you want to be 175 to 225. Contribution rate trend, you want to be, I think it's 125 to 130. And you can see going up and down my. Now, this is just the first screen. And I don't have to do anything to get this, but integrate, right? It gives you more like heat maps. Heat maps are great because everybody loves color coding. Green good, red bad, yellow in between, right? I don't even have to know what I'm looking for. I can go by color coding. And then you can get into details, which is great. Invoiced profitability by clients, profit trends, and then they have target versus actual. So these types of built-in agreements, these built-in applications keep you from having to build dashboards. Here's your AI sentiment notes, which again, we were just talking about. I don't have permission on this one. Cool. But sign up for the demo and you'll be able to see it. Tells you the average number of neutrals, the average number of positive, which tech is getting the most negatives, which clients have averages. So you have all of these types of apps, next ticket, project metrics, utilization, team metrics, ticket metrics. You don't have to build anything because they put best practice apps in here as well as some third-party apps. So this app dashboard, these apps have built-in dashboards that are constantly being updated, as you can see, to allow you to just go in and get value.
Yeah. Most of that is all pre-built value, pre-built dashboards ready to plug and play with a couple of settings, and you're off to the races. So huge benefit there. And spend some time with myself or with Byron, and we'd be happy to kind of show you some of those. I did see a question come in.
The QR code slide back up.
Yep. Let me share my screen again. And we can, let me know that pop back up. Just grab some time with us. And we'll be happy to kind of answer your questions in more detail. I did see one on there about, MSP CFO. There are folks that are consolidating other platforms such as those, depending on how you use those. So spend some time with us, kind of talk to us about, your specific use case, so we can, make sure that, how you use one platform can be done in MSP bots. So looking forward to spending some time with you all. Also, please register for this event as well. I'll leave it up because if you want to spend time with all three, whether it's spend time with Joe, set up your demo, and register for the next webinar, it might take you a couple minutes. So I'm going to leave it up here for another second or two. Fellas, what are the questions you see in the chat that we can potentially address that has not already been answered? If not, that's okay. So we'll let folks ask a couple of follow-up questions if they need to.
I just want to highlight Jordan's question real quick regarding the billing terms. We're super flexible. So at a minimum, we offer a month-to-month commitment. So that at any point, if you decide that you want to cancel, you can do so. We are backed by our 120-day unconditional money-back guarantee. I will drop the link to the pricing on our website, which, Jordan, you'll notice at the top is inclusive of our bundles. So we offer the bundles as a way of including more automation and as well as integrations to business intelligence and the Next Ticket app. But if that's, I like to put it, we mature with you as you mature with us. If the bundle's not really your speed as of yet, and there's some specific use cases that you're looking to tackle, then we can start at an a la carte offering. So happy to review those and see where maybe some use cases and quick wins would be for you if you book a demo.
Yeah, and just for anybody on here using BrightGauge, we do have a BrightGauge price match offer. So as long as you are paying for BrightGauge. So if you're paying for BrightGauge, whether month to month or if you're on a contract, contact us. We'll be able to at least give you the apples to apples on the number of data sets, get you what you're using. We'll do a free migration, meaning we can go ahead and replicate what it is that you're currently using in BrightGauge and bring that over into MSP bots at no additional cost. So you can spend some time to learn more about the details on that offer. But for the business intelligence, we'll do a price match for anybody looking to make a switch from BrightGauge.
I know you guys do that, but let me give just some experience here. You'll move over stuff that you will never use because MSP bot already has so much already built in. So move by use cases. Don't say, hey, I use this, because you may not need to. A bot could take care of it. You say, this is how I look at this. Well, you might want to look at it a different way based on these apps. While they can move everything over, it can create a lot of noise. It can slow things down. And it's a lot to absorb doing it that way, because you're going to try and make MSP bots look like BrightGauge. Know what you need to see and move it that way, because they could say, nope, this is already built. Nope, this is already built, and make that a more collaborative experience. I've seen people who move everything over and they end up just another dashboard with no automation, no changes. This is like, okay, well, this is no different than BrightGauge now. You're using 10% of what MSP bots can do. Learn what you want and let MSP bots do the thinking behind it. This is the data, this is the trigger, this is what I want to do, right? Because there's a difference between a metric, which is actionable, and a KPI, which is insightful. KPI is like, okay, I'm hitting it. That means all the subs should be right. But if this one isn't right, I need to know about it. Right? Something could be overcompensated for the KPI.
Yep. No, that's a great call out. And we've had a lot of folks for, whether they've used BrightGauge for a long time and feel very comfortable with it, to bring things over. But we've seen as soon as they start adopting the MSP bots platform, they stop using those other dashboards in favor of some of what we have pre-built, as well as some of the automation pieces. So that is a trend that we see happening. So to that point, if you want to save yourself some of the noise, we do go through a prioritization process to say, hey, which ones are the ones that you absolutely need, what you want to bring over, so that we'll try to avoid that. But it's a great point. There's new ways of doing that in the platform that will get you some more efficiency gains and less things to have to sort through and look at.
And more value.
And more value. Yeah, absolutely.
Yep. And Stephen, that recording will be posted, so we'll get that over to you. I think it'll take just a few minutes. Maybe don't quote me on that. I like to under promise and over deliver, as Joe says.
It'll be tomorrow.
So,
It'll be tomorrow.
Yeah, it's good.
Because we got to clip it and polish it up and wax it and stuff like that.
Yeah. All right.
All right. I have
Cool.
a hard stop, but I thank you guys for joining. Please do sign up for MSP Masterclass because it was so much fun last time, and I would love to have people there again.
Yeah. Thanks everyone for
All right.
joining.
Joe, thank you. Byron, thank you for taking the time to join. Everybody, thank you for taking your time out of your busy day to explore the difference between MSP bots and BrightGauge. And we hope to see you on the next webinar, as well as hopefully in a chat very soon. Thank you, guys.
Bye, guys.
Take care.